In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the bright stars and busy space lanes, a peaceful alien world struggled in silence. The planet Varel 7 was home to the Zalvera, an ancient and gentle race known for their wisdom and skill in science. Their cities gleamed with soft light built from crystal and metal, floating over vast forests and shimmering oceans. For thousands of years, the Zalvera lived without war or fear. But now, something was wrong. Deep below the surface, a strange sickness spread through their world. Plants withered, rivers ran dark, and strange creatures emerged from the shadows. The Zalvera's technology, once the pride of the galaxy, could not stop this growing threat in the heart of the capital. City, high in the Grand Science Tower, Drissen, one of the brightest Zalvera scientists, worked feverishly. His eyes, bright with urgency, scanned strange readings from ancient machines. "The energy patterns are shifting," he muttered, his voice tight with worry. Around him, other scientists whispered about the growing danger. The Zalvera had tried everything: medicines, energy fields, even prayers to the old gods, but the sickness only grew worse. The creatures from below seemed to learn, to adapt. They moved quickly, attacking anything in their path. The planet's surface was becoming unsafe. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the crystal towers, Drissen made a decision. The ancient technology in the deepest vaults had a power. No one fully understood a way to send a call for help across the stars. It was risky. The Zalvera had long avoided contact with other species, preferring peace and isolation. But now, desperation ruled. Drissen activated the device, a massive orb glowing with blue light, and sent a pulse into the dark reaches of space. The signal was complex: a plea, a warning, a hope wrapped in waves of energy no one could ignore. It would take years for an answer to come, or so they thought. Far away, on Earth, in a large command center filled with glowing screens and busy voices, the signal was picked up. The sudden burst of unknown energy caught the attention of the United Earth Space Agency, USA. "This isn't a random burst," said Captain Rachel Morgan, a sharp and experienced space officer. "It's a message someone is calling for help." Around her, scientists and analysts worked fast, decoding the strange patterns. The message was unlike anything humans had seen before. Not a language, but a mixture of sound and light, shaped by intelligence. "It's coming from deep space, near the Virel system," one scientist reported. The room fell silent. For years, Earth had searched for signs of alien life, and now here was a clear call. The question was, should they answer? In the following days, debate filled every corner of the USA. Some wanted to send a small probe to study the source quietly. Others warned of dangers. What if it was a trap or a warning? But Captain Morgan felt something deeper. "If they need help, we must try," she said firmly. The council agreed to send an exploration fleet, not a war force, but a group of ships equipped for contact, defense, and rescue. The ships were prepared with care, their crews trained for every possibility. As the fleet launched, people watched around the world, hopeful and afraid. Humanity was about to step into the unknown. Meanwhile, back on Virel 7, the Zalvera waited, their hope fragile. They did not expect the answer that came next: fast, powerful, and unlike anything they had imagined. The human fleet arrived sooner than expected, its massive ships casting shadows over the alien skies. The Zalvera watched in awe and fear. Who were these strangers, and what did they want? As the humans opened communications, they made it clear they had come to help. But help meant war. A war against the darkness spreading beneath the planet's surface. The Zalvera, peaceful for so long, had never prepared for this. The humans landed carefully. Soldiers and scientists moving together into the strange world. Their leader, Captain Morgan, stepped onto the alien soil with a steady gaze. Around her, the crew whispered about the danger they faced. The enemy was unknown, but the signs were clear: dead forests, silent cities, strange creatures. Lurking in the shadows, humans were not here to make friends. They were here to fight. The Zalvera's peaceful call had summoned an armada. The galaxy was about to change forever. As the sun set over Virel 7, a chill wind blew through the ruined streets. The strange creatures stirred beneath the surface, watching, waiting. Above, the humans prepared for a battle they did not fully understand. And somewhere deep underground, a dark intelligence spread its roots. The signal had awakened something ancient and terrible, and it had called humanity to war. The human fleet hovered silently in the violet sky above Varel 7. Massive ships, gleaming with advanced technology, contrasted sharply against the fragile, crystal towers of the Zalvera cities. Captain Rachel Morgan stood on the bridge of the flagship Endurance, watching the alien world below. It looked peaceful from above, but the signs of danger were clear. Dark scars marred the forests. Smoke drifted from distant fires. The planet's surface was trembling, as if something below was restless. The Zaldera scientists greeted, the humans with a mixture of relief and fear. Drissen, the lead scientist who had sent the signal, showed them the destruction. "The sickness spreads fast," he said softly. "It is not natural. These creatures come from the depths. They consume and corrupt everything." As humans examined the ruins, strange sounds echoed from the ground, whispers of something moving just out of sight. The atmosphere was tense. The Zaldera had called for help, but no one was sure what they had invited. The first contact was cautious. Humans and Zaldera shared data and stories, trying to understand each other's worlds. The aliens spoke of a parasite-like species they called the Shadows, creatures that burrowed beneath the surface and infected the land and life. They were intelligent, fast, and brutal, spreading terror through underground tunnels and emerging suddenly to attack. The humans listened carefully, their military minds racing to prepare. Captain Morgan convened a meeting with her senior officers and the Zaldera Council. "This threat is unlike anything we've faced," she said. "We must act quickly, but carefully. We are here to help, not to conquer." The Zaldera nodded, still unsure if the humans could really save them. Trust was fragile. Exploration teams were formed, combining human soldiers and alien guides. Their mission, to survey the damage and find the enemy's lairs. But the deeper they went, the more dangerous it became. Strange tunnels twisted below the planet's surface like a web, dark and endless. The teams reported attacks from unseen creatures, shadows moving too fast to see, claws ripping through metal, eerie screeches that froze blood. Some teams never returned. Back on the Endurance, scientists studied samples brought up from the surface and tunnels. The Shadows were revealed to be more than simple beasts. They were a hive mind species, linked by a strange biotechnology that allowed them to share thoughts and coordinate attacks. Every time a human or Zaldera was lost, the enemy seemed to grow stronger. The battle was not just physical, it was a war of minds and survival. As days passed, tensions rose. The Zaldera were peaceful, untrained for war, while humans were fighters by nature, but strangers to this world. Cultural differences led to clashes. Some Zaldera blamed the humans for bringing more violence. Some humans worried the aliens were too passive. But one truth united them: the Shadows must be stopped. Late one night, a scout team sent to map a key tunnel reported a chilling message. The enemy is preparing something big. Now the Shadows were gathering their forces, planning a strike that could wipe out the humans and the Zaldera alike. The tension in the base grew unbearable. Captain Morgan tightened security and readied the troops. "We don't just fight for one world now, we fight for survival." In the heart of the alien city, Drissen watched the stars with heavy eyes. The signal he had sent was answered, but not in the way he had hoped. The arrival of humanity was both salvation and storm. The peaceful galaxy he had dreamed of was shattered. Now, under the shadow of an enemy no one fully understood, two very different races stood side by side, preparing for a war that would change everything. Beneath the glowing surface of Varel 7, darkness ruled. The tunnels twisted and turned like veins under the planet's skin. Captain Morgan and her joint team's human soldiers and Zaldera scouts steeled themselves for each step into the unknown. Their flashlights barely pierced the thick shadows. Every sound echoed: the drip of water, the scrape of claws against stone. The air was thick with fear and uncertainty. The enemy, the shadows, were no ordinary creatures. They moved silently and swiftly, attacking before anyone could see them clearly. Their bodies were covered in dark chitinous armor that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Their eyes glowed with cold intelligence. But what terrified the humans most was their strange ability to vanish, to slip between the rocks as if melting into the darkness itself. They were hunters, masters of their underground lairs. During one mission, Lieutenant Sam Collins led a small squad deeper into the tunnels to find the source of the shadows. The squad communicated quietly, nerves taut. Suddenly, a sharp scream broke the silence. Collins saw movement out of the corner of his eye, something darting in the dark. Before anyone could react, one of the soldiers was dragged into the shadows, gone in an instant. The team fought back desperately, firing their plasma rifles, but the enemy disappeared without a trace. Collins felt a chill he would never forget. The shadows were not just creatures, they were predators who knew the tunnels like their own bodies. Back at the base, scientists examined captured samples and discovered something shocking. The shadows were connected through a biological network, almost like a giant brain spread throughout the tunnels. If one was injured or killed, the others quickly learned from it and adapted. This hive mind intelligence made them deadly opponents. "We can't fight them like normal enemies," warned Drisson. "They will change tactics faster than we can react." This revelation forced the humans to change their strategy. No longer could they rely only on firepower. They needed to understand the enemy's mind, its patterns, and weaknesses. Captain Morgan ordered the formation of special units trained in stealth and rapid strikes, using new technology that could disrupt the Shadow's bio-network. But time was running out. The enemy was growing stronger and bolder. At night, uneasy whispers filled the alien city. The Zaldera grew fearful. Some elders spoke of ancient legends, stories long forgotten, about creatures that once almost destroyed their ancestors. Could these shadows be the same force, returning after centuries? The humans listened silently, realizing the history of this world was deeper than they thought. In a tense meeting, the Zaldera leader, High Elder Lurian, spoke with a heavy heart. "We called for help, but we may have awakened an old nightmare. We must prepare for a fight not only for our world, but for our very souls." The humans respected her words. They were no longer visitors. They were defenders of a fragile world. Battling an enemy born of shadow and fear, suddenly the base was rocked by alarms. The shadows had launched a surprise attack on the perimeter. Teams rushed to defend the outposts, but the enemy's speed and coordination overwhelmed some. Fires spread. Soldiers fell. The battle was brutal and close. Captain Morgan directed the defense with steady hands, refusing to let panic take over. When the fighting stopped, the cost was clear. Lives lost, structures damaged. But the humans and Zaldera held their ground. "We will learn. We will fight smarter," Morgan promised her team. "This enemy may hide in the dark, but we will be the light that stops it." The hidden enemy had shown its deadly power. Humanity and the Zaldera had found strength in their unity. The battle underground was only beginning, and the war for Varel VII's future was far from over. The fragile peace between the humans and the Zaldera was beginning to strain. Though both sides faced a common enemy, their ways of thinking were very different. The humans were warriors, trained for battle and quick to act. The Zaldera were scholars and diplomats, cautious and patient by nature. The threat of the shadows forced them together, but old fears and misunderstandings crept in, making their alliance fragile. In the command center of the human fleet, Captain Rachel Morgan paced as she listened to reports. "Our soldiers need better weapons for underground combat," she said. "We must strike hard and fast to stop these creatures." Her officers nodded, preparing plans for aggressive attacks. The humans believed the best defense was offense. Meanwhile, in the crystal halls of the Zaldera Council, High Elder Lurian warned for caution. "This war is unlike any we know," she said softly. "Rushing into battle may bring more harm than good. We must seek balance, wisdom before violence." Her words were wise, but seen by some as weakness. Some younger Zaldera feared that human tactics would only bring destruction to their world. Tensions grew as disagreements flared. Some human commanders felt the Zalvera were too passive. Some Zalvera envoys worried the humans might damage sacred sites or disrupt their fragile ecosystem. Arguments broke out in meetings. The air was thick with distrust, but the threat of the shadows kept everyone focused. Scouts reported the enemy massing for a large attack. The underground tunnels buzzed with dark energy. Both humans and Zaldera knew they had little time to prepare. To unite the forces, Captain Morgan proposed a shared training program. Human soldiers taught the Zaldera basic combat tactics and use of new weapons, while the Zaldera shared knowledge of their world, hidden passages, traps, and the enemy's behavior. Slowly, mutual respect grew. The warriors learned to listen, and the scholars learned to fight at the same time. Engineers and scientists worked together to develop new technology. Human weapons were modified to be less destructive to the delicate alien environment. Alien bioscanners helped detect shadows before they could strike. The cooperation was difficult, but promising. The city buzzed with preparation. Humans, suited up in armored exoskeletons, carrying plasma rifles and grenades designed to disrupt the Shadow's bio-network. The Zalvera built energy shields and tactical devices that enhanced their natural abilities. War drills filled the days and nights. Still, the fear lingered. What if their alliance was not strong enough? What if the enemy was too powerful? The unknown future weighed heavily on all hearts. Then, just as preparations seemed complete, disaster struck. A massive wave of shadows burst from the tunnels, attacking a vital settlement. The outpost was overwhelmed quickly. Fires spread through the crystal buildings. Civilians fled in panic. The combined human-alien forces rushed to defend, but the enemy was relentless. Captain Morgan led the counterattack. With fire and precision, the humans in Zaldera pushed the shadows back. The battle was fierce and brutal, testing every skill and weapon they had. When the dust settled, the enemy retreated, but not without leaving a harsh warning. The attack proved the shadows were evolving, growing more organized and daring. The Alliance faced its greatest challenge yet. Standing amid the ruins, Morgan looked at the worried faces around her. "We have to be ready," she said. "This is just the beginning. But together, we will survive." High Elder Lurian nodded. "Together, we must learn to trust. Only then can we save our world." The war was no longer just against an enemy in the dark. It was a battle to unite two very different peoples before everything they cared for was lost. The aftermath of the last attack left Varel 7's surface scarred and tense. The combined forces of humans and Zaldera worked tirelessly to rebuild, but beneath the ruins, the true threat continued to grow. Captain Rachel Morgan Andreessen, the alien scientist, knew that understanding the enemy was the key to survival. So, a new mission was planned, to explore deeper into the unknown tunnels than ever before. A special team was assembled. It included the best human soldiers, skilled Zalvera scouts, and scientists from both sides. Their goal was to uncover the source of the shadows, to find their nest, their command center, or any clue that could turn the tide of war. The mission was dangerous, and everyone knew it. But desperation left no choice. The team descended into the dark tunnels, moving cautiously through winding corridors filled with eerie silence. Strange markings covered the walls and chinked symbols glowing faintly in the dim light. Dreesen studied them closely. "These markings are not natural," he said. "They suggest a long-lost intelligence, perhaps a civilization that once lived here." The idea sent a chill through the group. Could the shadows be more than just monsters? Could they be the remnants of a forgotten war? As they went deeper, the air grew thick with a strange energy. Sensors picked up faint signals rhythms that pulsed like a heartbeat. The team stopped at a massive cavern, its walls shimmering with bioluminescent fungi and strange crystals. In the center, a massive structure stood, a living hive, pulsating with dark power. It was both beautiful and terrifying. Suddenly, the ground trembled. From the shadows, hundreds of shadows erupted, attacking in a furious swarm. The team fought desperately, firing weapons and using new tactics to disrupt the hive mind. But the enemy was relentless. Lieutenant Sam Collins was nearly lost, saved only by a quick strike from a Zaldera scout. The battle was brutal and chaotic. When the fight ended, the team made a shocking discovery inside the hive. They found evidence of an ancient war records, and machines showing the shadows were once a proud civilization, corrupted by a virus that turned them into the creatures they now were. Worse, the virus was still alive, spreading like wildfire beneath the planet. The implications were clear. If the virus was not stopped, it could infect other worlds. Spreading beyond Varel 7, the humans in Zalvera faced a crisis larger than they had imagined. War was no longer just for survival, it was to stop a deadly plague that could threaten the galaxy. Back at the base, this new knowledge changed everything. Scientists worked around the clock to develop a cure or a weapon that could target the virus without destroying the planet. Captain Morgan pushed her forces harder, knowing time was against them. The enemy was not just growing stronger, it was evolving, but there were dangers beyond the shadows. Not everyone agreed with the humans' presence. Some Zaldera factions feared that relying on alien technology would ruin their culture. Others suspected the humans had their own hidden agendas. Tensions rose and whispers of rebellion spread quietly through the cities. In a secret meeting, some Zaldera leaders discussed the possibility of forcing the humans to leave. They feared that humanity's arrival might bring more destruction than salvation. Captain Morgan was unaware of these plots, but felt the pressure. The alliance was fragile, and any mistake could shatter it. As the war escalated, both sides faced impossible choices. Trust had to be earned. Battles had to be fought not just with weapons, but with words and courage. The fate of Virel 7 and perhaps the galaxy hung in the balance, and deep beneath the surface, the virus pulsed, waiting for its chance to spread again. The days following the discovery of the virus were tense and filled with urgency. Scientists, both human and Zalvera, worked side by side in the labs, testing samples and developing new weapons and medicines. The atmosphere was heavy with pressure. Failure meant doom not just for Virel 7, but for countless other worlds. Captain Rachel Morgan felt the weight of command like never before. Every decision could cost lives. Every move mattered. The humans had brought strength and firepower, but they had also brought challenges, cultural clashes, distrust, and the constant threat of the shadows. In the war room, holographic maps of the underground tunnels flickered with data. Scouts reported new enemy movements, signaling that the shadows were regrouping, preparing for another assault. "They're getting smarter," said Lieutenant Collins. "Each attack is more coordinated. They're learning from us." Dreeson nodded grimly. "The virus is adapting to. It's changing the shadows, making them faster and more dangerous. We need to act quickly." Despite the dangers, hope was growing. The scientists developed a prototype weapon-an energy pulse device designed to disrupt the shadow's hive mind. It emitted a frequency that interfered with the bio-network connecting the creatures. The plan was to use these pulses to weaken the enemy before launching a full-scale assault on their hive. Training began immediately. Human soldiers learned how to use the new devices while Zalvera scouts prepared to guide them through the tunnels. The two groups, once divided by fear and misunderstanding, now moved with shared purpose. Bonds formed in the heat of preparation, yet the shadows of doubt still lurked. Some Zaldera questioned whether the weapon might harm the planet itself. Others worried about the humans' intentions. Secret meetings continued behind closed doors, but Captain Morgan remained focused on the mission. Finally, the day arrived. The combined force, equipped with new weapons and energy pulse devices, descended into the darkness. The tension was thick as they moved carefully through the twisting tunnels. Every step, a test of nerves. Suddenly, the shadows attacked. This time the humans in Zaldera fought back with the new technology. Pulses disrupted the enemies. Coordination. Confused and disoriented, the shadows became easier targets. The tide of battle shifted. Deep in the hive, The assault teams planted explosive charges, set to destroy the core of the virus. As the countdown began, alarms blared. The shadows were regrouping for a desperate counterattack. Captain Morgan rallied. Her troops, hold your ground. We finish this now. The battle reached a fever pitch, a storm of fire and fury echoing through the tunnels. When the charges detonated, a wave of energy pulsed through the hive. The shadows screamed in pain and fury as their connection shattered. The virus was weakening, but victory came at a cost. Many soldiers were lost, and the tunnels began to collapse. The teams raced to escape the crumbling hive, barely making it out before the tunnel sealed behind them. Back on the surface, the aftermath was clear. The virus was not destroyed, but severely damaged. The shadows retreated into hiding, their power broken for now. The humans in Zalvera had won a crucial battle. Captain Morgan looked out at the recovering city, knowing the war was far from over. We've turned the tide, she said quietly. But we must stay ready. The enemy will come back. Lurian placed a hand on Morgan's shoulder. You have given us hope. Together, we will face whatever comes. The turning tide brought new strength, but also new challenges. The alliance was tested, the future uncertain. The war for Varel 7 continued, and with it, the fate of two worlds intertwined. The hard-won victory at the Hive had brought relief to both the humans and Zalthera. For a moment, hope blossomed. Soldiers repaired their gear, scientists analyzed battle data, and leaders planned the next steps. But beneath the surface, shadows of doubt and suspicion began to spread. Captain Rachel Morgan sensed the change first. Reports from the front lines became confusing and contradictory. Supplies went missing. Communications were intercepted and scrambled. Most troubling were whispers of secret meetings held late at nights all there, and humans meeting in hidden corners, exchanging urgent, whispered words. One evening, Morgan met with Drisson and Lieutenant Sam Collins in the war room. Something is wrong, she said, her voice low. Our intelligence shows strange movements near our supply lines, and the enemy seems better prepared, almost as if they know our plans. Drisson frowned. I have been studying the bio-network of the shadows. It adapts quickly, but this feels different, more deliberate. Someone may be feeding them information. Lieutenant Collins clenched his fists. A spy? The idea spread quickly. Suspicion poisoned the once solid alliance. Every glance carried doubt. Teams were watched more closely. Trust became a fragile thing. Morgan ordered an investigation. Special units discreetly tracked suspicious behavior among both human and Zalvera personnel. It was a dangerous game. Spy capturing them before they caused more damage was vital. Days passed with no clear answers. Then, in a tense briefing, a captured informant revealed a shocking truth of faction within the Zell. Thera, opposed to the human presence, had secretly made contact with the shadows. They hoped to weaken the alliance and regain control over their world alone. The revelation rocked the base. High Elder Lurian confronted the accused leaders, their denial only deepening the crisis. The Zalvera were torn between loyalty to their people and fear of losing their world to outside forces. Captain Morgan faced her greatest challenge, not just the enemy outside, but betrayal within. Fight together or we fall apart, she told her officers. We cannot let fear destroy what we've built. Yet the damage was done. Shadows used the leaked information to launch devastating attacks. Bases fell and casualties rose. The war grew bloodier, harsher. Morgan and her allies redoubled their efforts. New security measures, tighter communication, and ruthless counterattacks became their way of life. Every victory was paid with loss. Every friend was watched, in the quiet moments. Morgan thought of the message that had started it, all the accidental call for help. What if their arrival had caused this chaos? What if their presence endangered a world they wished to save? But she pushed the doubts aside. There was no turning back. The fight for Viral 7 was now a fight for trust, survival, and the hope that light could still shine through the darkest shadows. The enemy lurked in the darkness, both outside and within. The war had reached its darkest hour. Betrayal had shaken the alliance to its core, and the enemy seized the moment to strike hard. Varel 7 cities bore scars from constant battle. The tunnels beneath throbbed with hostile life, and amid the chaos, a flicker of hope remained. Captain Rachel Morgan stood before a gathering of human soldiers and Zaldera leaders. The room was heavy with exhaustion and tension, but also a fierce determination. The war was no longer just about survival. It was about proving that two very different peoples could come together against a common darkness. "We have faced enemies without and enemies within," Morgan began, her voice steady. ... But our strength is in unity. Alone, we fall. Together, we rise. High Elder Luria nodded beside her. "We must leave behind old fears and doubts. Only through trust and cooperation can we protect our world and our future." The plan was bold. A final assault on the Shadow's heart, deep within the planet's core. It would be the most dangerous mission yet. The virus pulsing there was the source of the Shadow's power. Destroy it, and the enemy would lose its hold on VIRL-7. Soldiers trained harder than ever. Human and Zaldera warriors fought side by side, learning each other's strengths. The combined force became a symbol of hope, proof that, despite differences, they could stand as one. As the assault began, the ground shook beneath their feet. The tunnels seemed alive, resisting their every move. Shadows swarmed, but this time the Alliance was ready. Energy pulses shattered their coordination. Laser fire cut through the darkness. Warriors moved with fierce determination in the deepest chamber. The core pulsed with dark energy. The virus writhed like a living storm, trying to defend itself. But Morgan and her team planted the final charges. The countdown echoed through the cavern. "Get clear," she shouted. The explosion lit the tunnels with blinding light. A wave of energy spread, destroying the virus and breaking the shadows. "Hold forever." The ground trembled, then fell silent. Outside, survivors cheered as the darkness lifted. For the first time in months, the sun shone brightly on Viral 7's surface. The Alliance had won, but victory was more than the end of war. It was a new beginning. Morgan and Lurian stood together, looking at the horizon. "We have learned that strength is not just in weapons," Lurian said softly. "It is in trust, respect, and the courage to stand united." Morgan smiled. Galaxy will remember this day. The day two worlds became one. The battle was over, but the story of humanity and the Zaldera was just beginning. Together they would build a future where peace was possible, even in the darkest corners of the universe.